Hi guys. I don't know if there's many people online at this time or whether it's a good time to be doing a live, but it seems the only time that I have effectively available at the moment on this week. So even if you guys catch the replay, that's still something. Um, Quite a lot to talk about today. I wanted to do this yesterday, but we have a house full of sick people all come down with a virus and yeah, there's just coughing and snot and a lack of sleep everywhere. So yeah, nerves are a bit frayed at the moment, guys. Anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the tip, the lost tip narrative, the gift that keeps on giving, as I've now named it. Just a little aside, it is evening here in Australia, and I have tree frogs croaking outside. I have the dishwasher going. I have the cats circling. There's lots going on around me. So, hey, Mimi, thank you so much for joining. You got the popcorn? Um, we've already had popcorn today. We've had our movie night. And anyway, so I was actually falling asleep on the couch a couple of hours ago, but I wanted to actually do the live today because I was a no-show yesterday and I did the sneak peek, which was just awful because there were whole chunks missing because my Wi-Fi connection was terrible. So I thought that I would come along and actually do it tonight. Before we get started on talking about the tip again, like I'm really milking this, right? 2 pages of documents, or well, technically a 3-page exhibit, seems to have now created hours of content. My intention, I never thought that all of that information would uncover so many twists and turns, but it really has. And so hopefully today's presentation does add more value. It's not just going over the same old. But before we get into it, Diana, thank you for joining. Nice to see you again. Diana is my wonderful mod and really good, loyal friend in this community. And I'm so glad to have her here. She really helped me process the feelings earlier today, as any good just does. So lovely to see you, Diana. Before I get into the presentation today, let's have another look at the website because the website has caused a bit of a stir today on social, and I just think it warrants a little bit of clearing up. So this is the Richard Allen Justice Project. Unfortunately, some people have been cutting and pasting screenshots today to try and suggest that it's called something different, but that's exactly what it is, the Richard Allen Justice Project. And contrary to popular opinion, not popular, contrary to some people's opinion, it isn't just a copy of a copy of a copy, which is exactly what we're going to talk about today when it comes to the lost tip narrative. No, what's different about this website? This website is, you know what, I was thinking about this as I was putting my kids to bed tonight. I think this website would be education for the Delphi case, right? Because as psychologists, hey, Crypto, joining again. Really nice to see you. I hope your puppy's doing okay, Cryptex. I noticed your pup wasn't doing so well and had some surgery, I think. Massive dog lover too. Back to the Richard Allen Justice Project, psychoeducation for the Delphi case. What is psychoeducation? It's helping people to understand complex psychological theories, models, strategies in easy to digest form. It's a large part of what we do, psychologists. I'm sure Diane would agree. And so that this is not the website you come to for document drops and classified information, trial testimony. It's the website that you come to if you want what I would call, this is going to sound rude because it's not about you guys, but it's about me. This is my dummies guide to the evidence. And when I say dummies, I was the dummy. I literally looked at some of this evidence. I had no idea what to make of it. There's a lot going on in this case. And so trying to piece together all the twists and turns of many, many years of investigation, as well as all these technical expertise, has not been easy. But because I'm somebody who literally not give up, much to some people's I need to understand things. And if I don't understand them, I will just keep digging and digging and digging. And so when I started to do that with the Delphi case, particularly all of the information that was used against Richard Allen, I was like, well, why not share that? Because I know there are plenty of other people out there who feel the same as I do when they look at masses of documents and testimonies. So that on this website, it is not a plagiarism of other people's websites. However, of course, the facts of who was Richard Allen and what is the flawed case, yes, they are up a lot. But yeah, the key part of my contribution and our contribution, as I always say, anyone who supports the channel is, part of Richard Allen particularly. The purpose of this website is to psychoeducate, to educate people who don't want to look through tons and tons of documents, but want to understand this case. Because otherwise, if we just trust the broader media, we are sometimes led astray. So on that note, actually, as well, before we go into the full presentation, let's just have a little look at something in the media. So this... Sorry, guys. Look what I've just done. I struggle with StreamYard still. I'm still getting my head around it. My sister, however, was super impressed by my efforts because she has no idea about this. And she finally watched my channel the other day and she was like, wow, you didn't say and ah that much. And I'm like, editing. That's editing. Anyway, I was pretty happy to get her approval though, because she is the professor and a very, very clever person. So if my sister thinks I'm doing a good job, I am feeling pretty proud of myself. Okay, what was I trying to get up? Here we go. Finally found it. Problem for me is I always have too many tabs going. So share this tab instead. Here we go. So anyone who's been following the community page here will know that I have written to the author of this article here. Haven't heard back yet, guys. Don't often hear back, but you know what? We always send out the messages and hope for someone to see them at some point. Just a quick hello to See Through. I didn't say hello to you yet. Thank you for joining and being in the chat. You've got a very cute puppy. And I love all the dog lovers that come in, the cat lovers. I love to see all your cute little pictures. So nice to have you. Okay, so this article is relevant to what we're talking about today. And I did write, oh, whoopsie. Sorry, guys. Have I clicked on something else? Okay. Yeah, 7 letters delayed Allen's conviction by 5 years. No. 7 letters did not delay Allen's conviction by 5 years. We've already talked about why that's the case. But there's more today, guys. There is more. Maybe we'll come back to this, actually. Here you go. Here's a nice picture of Nick McClelland. And we're going to go to a quote from him a little bit later too. Let's come back. Let's cycle back to that. Let's get back to the bare bones of the lost tip narrative. And then we'll come back to how to debunk the claims here of law enforcement around the 7 letters that prolonged the investigation. So without further ado, we have another nice presentation to keep me on track. Here we go. The lost tip narrative. Now, I was going to call it the gift that keeps on giving. I was going to call it the copy of a copy of a copy. If anyone who listened to my sneak peek last night, I had a reference to a copy of a copy of a copy, which is a song by Louis Tomlinson. So I don't know if any directioners are out there, but my family are all massive directioners and particularly Louis Tomlinson lovers. I love Louis. He is an awesome guy. Faith in the Future, that album has got me through a lot of tough times. That's a deep soul there. Good on you, Louis. Anyway, sorry, I digress. Let's come back to Delphi. Hi, Nicole. Thank you for joining. Another one of my wonderful friends in this community. Thanks, guys, for all being here. Super, super appreciate you guys. So I ended up with why so many copies, but yeah, whatever. Sometimes it's hard to keep coming up with original titles, guys. Okay. Look at this. This is just making me giggle. I was going through my pictures yesterday to get pictures of all my little angels that watch over me. And as many of you know, Daisy and the other people who inspire me on this channel are no longer with us. And so I was going back over past pictures and I found this super, super cute picture of Daisy side-eyeing. And I thought it was just like so appropriate. It's like literally this little divine intervention from above. She kind of guided me to this picture to remind me she's with me on this. So this is Daisy's face when she hears the lost tip narrative. I'm laughing at my own jokes. But anyway, guys, the same old disclaimer. This is just a presentation for educational discussion purposes. I mean, advocacy purposes too. But these views are my personal opinions, interpretations, speculations on publicly available information. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a legal professional, law enforcement, and I'm certainly not a digital forensics expert or any of the other specialties that are possibly required for understanding some of this investigation, except I am a clinical psychologist. Much to, again, some people's dismay, perhaps, but no, I do have that qualification. I do. So I think probably most people who have had any sort of experience in psychology or therapy can probably tell I'm a therapist from some of the words that I use and some of the interpretations that I make. And anyone out there in the chat who's been to therapy, you are awesome. I always say to my clients, the people in therapy are the people who are the widest awake in this world. So absolutely, totally a big endorser of therapy, not just because that is how I earn a living. And hello to RQV5CB8. Oh, sorry, that I can't say your entire username, RQ, but you're very welcome here, and thank you for coming. And you're a big fan of Cryptex. Cryptex is awesome. Yeah, I definitely am a fan of Cryptex. I know Cryptex may not always have the same opinions as I do about Rick Allen, but he's super open-minded and super respectful of everyone, and just a nice breath of fresh air in our community. So big shout out to Cryptex. Thanks for joining us today. Super appreciative of the support that you've also been giving me over the last week. Okay, so let's move on. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, just speculation, guys. Lots of what I say is speculation. I am not going to accuse anyone of anything, but I will certainly speculate on some possibilities. Okay. So, a copy of a copy. So I shout this out to Peggy because she was the person who had talked about this, and I was like, oh my goodness, just when I thought I couldn't find anything else that was fishy, I'm using your word, Cryptex, fishy, about the tip issue or lead issue, whatever I'm going to call it. She pointed out that there are two exhibits that have the same line through them. Here we go, this line, right? I hadn't even looked at that. I mean, that's attention to detail. So what's going on here is I hadn't realized that there was another exhibit, 229. I really just zoned in and wanted to see what Doolan had written down and what was on that Orion sheet. And in the process, I missed the fact that there are two copies here of this. Now, I explained this on my sneak peek last night, but as I said, the audio was terrible. It was glitchy because I don't know what's wrong with the Wi-Fi upstairs in my house, so I'm downstairs today, and hopefully it's not glitching. Let me know if it does. So here's the thing, right? So apparently Exhibit 228 is what Kathy Shank found, the one that we talked about last week. This one was the magical find in 2022. There's going to be a fair amount of snark today, guys, because I'm a bit more fired up than usual because of some of the difficulties I've had today in the community. I've decided to take a bit of a pause from X because I have been pretty viciously harassed by one particular person, and it's been really horrible. But on the other hand, every knock I have just pushes me forward more. So just to quote our good friend Viktor Frankl and his approach of existential philosophy or psychology and logotherapy, the whole message of man's search for meaning is that we triumph through adversity, that we grow through our struggles. And so today has definitely been a struggle for me, but I think it's given me some fire. So there will be a bit of snark today, guys. So here we've got what Kathy Shank found. And here we have Exhibit 229, which apparently, it was admitted during Dan Doolan's testimony. And apparently this is the copy he said he had. Now, I'm not sure where this then turned up from, like where they had stored this, but essentially these two documents are the same. And I've still done the same thing here. I've cut off the print date on one of them, but essentially the print date is the same. Hi, USA Libertarian. Thank you for being a regular in my chat. Totally appreciate you too. Thank you so much. So these are printed on the same day. They are the exact same sheet, right? And this cross through here, again, going to credit the person who alerted us all to this. That was Peggy. Is exactly the same as this one. This one's just fainter. Now, why would that be fainter? Because this probably here is a photocopy of this. Okay, so what's happened is they've entered in this tip and then they've printed a copy of it, this one, and then they photocopied that. But then after they photocopied that, they've also here punched some holes in this and put it into a binder. Interesting, right? That's another one of Peggy's observations. So I won't claim credit for that. But how interesting, right? So let's understand this. Why on earth are there two copies of this? Hey, Sean the Brit. Nice to see you again. Thanks for joining. Why? Look, I've never worked with law enforcement, certainly not in the States anyway, but I haven't worked for law enforcement here either. Not going to say that I have. I have worked in a jail, guys, but I'm not a while I want to be because I usually don't like to break ethical codes. But here you go. Hi, PTRB. Nice to see you too. Is Al on the Prowl in here too? I didn't see Al on the Prowl, but good to see you. All my buddies are here. Thank you so much, everybody who's lurking. I really appreciate you all. Anyway, going back to this. So anyone here who has worked in law enforcement or knows anyone in law enforcement or knows how this works, absolutely happy for you guys to tell me in the chat or comment on the video if you're on the replay. Hey, Al, definitely lovely to see you. Yeah, I want to know a few things. First of all, why would you print multiple copies of this? So I kind of understand this one. It was printed on the 18th of the 2nd, being printed for Dan Doolan because that's the day that he was about to, or the day that he met Rick. So he probably printed this in preparation for that. But what I'm not understanding is why we have two copies of it and what binder it was put into. Also, apparently this cross through, now again, definitely correct me if I'm wrong here. This is a ChatGPT search for me because, again, this is not an area that I would have any knowledge about myself. But ChatGPT reckons this here. Let's start again, guys. My sister's not going to be impressed today, is she? I'm stumbling here. Can't edit alive. This line here isn't about being cleared. Apparently, it's something to do with like an administrative thing, like when they enter it into the system or something, they do a strike through. I mean, that's a bit weird, but I don't know. Maybe. Makes sense because there's no lead cleared written on this. So if anyone knows if there is some innocent explanation for that, let me know. But clearly, this line here and this line here match. You can see where they cut through at various points. It is identical. Unless the person literally put 228 on top of 229 and traced the line perfectly, which obviously is totally absurd, even for Delphi. This here is a copy of this. So Dan Doolan says this is the one that he saw that he used. He indicated that this is the one and oh goodness, sorry, skipping a page. Let's go back. This is Exhibit 229. Hi Kay, thank you for joining. Thanks everybody for chatting. It's really nice to see you all. So yeah, this here is Dan Doolan's apparently, but didn't he write on the back of the lead sheet, guys? Why do we not have that? Because we have the typed in Word document, but we just don't have the scrawled notes on the back of this that he said that he had. I think most of us had assumed he had shredded that, right? And that's why we didn't have the written notes anymore, because he typed them into Word and then those Word notes had been typed into Orion by whoever did that on his behalf. So where has this lead sheet suddenly appeared from? And where's it been stored? What binder has it been stored in? Okay, so first question there. Now, if this is Dan Doolan's copy, then he didn't write this stuff here and here, did he? Because this is the copy he's saying he used and saw. So now we know again that somebody else has written, at least two people, because this is two different types of writing as far as I can tell. That's a very distinct D and that's a very different D. This is nice, pretty, curly writing, and this here is just, oops, a scrawl. So yeah, so now we've got the 5 people listed on all of these Orion sheets, one of which includes Dan Doolan, plus, unless one of those is the person that wrote this and this, plus the 2 people who wrote these things too. Again, is this not mind-blowing to everybody? Like, I just don't even understand this. This is just ludicrous, right? So we've got 2 copies. Oh, Daisy's back again. She thinks it's ludicrous too. And I'm just reading the chat. So USA says, and if they haven't fully investigated it, they don't know why RA was cleared, which may be for a very good reason. Oh, exactly. Somebody has gone and written this here, right? Somebody's going to go on and written this here. It doesn't make sense, right? Okay, let's go to the next page. So we now have these 2 printed on the 18th, right? Now, this one I think was printed. This one was copied. We also now have something else that I discovered as I was going through this yesterday. So if you watch the sneak peek one, that's the terrible audio, I may actually put that back up as a normal video as well, guys. So if you do want to watch that, because that was kind of my immediate reaction to this. I love it when I figure things out while I'm recording. It's fun and it's a bit more natural, and I don't overthink it because it's there. I'm kind of working it out in my head as I go along. But what I realized was then we've got Exhibit 232 here, which is pretty much the same as this one. Exhibit 228 again. This is the magical. Oh, I put the wrong date on this. Sorry, guys. Well, that's just stuffed up the presentation. This should have been the 2019. This is the magical 2019 one, guys, not 2022. That Kathy Shank printed without remembering. And then this one here is the narrative summary being printed on the 25th of the 2nd, 17. Now, again, question here, guys. Why did they print that a week later? Like, what was the purpose of that? Because Doolan spoke to Rick on the 18th. So then a week later, they've decided to print the narrative summary out. But why? I mean, does anyone have an answer for that? I can't make sense of it. It doesn't really make any sense. Sorry, I should be putting your comments up, guys, as well. Let me show the comments on the stage. Yeah, so we've now got 4 sheets of paper, right? I mean, these 2 are the same and these 2 are the same. And obviously the annotations on this one are different, but otherwise they're the same. The print date on these 2 is the same, hence why one is a copy of the other. This one's got the print date in 2017 in February, and this one's got the print date of 29th of the 10th, 19, not 22. So now we've got 4 sheets of paper floating around that are suddenly available again by the time we get to trial. It's no longer just this one missing folder or these 2 missing sheets in a miscellaneous box. We've now got 4 sheets of paper floating around, as well as the entries on Orion. That's why I've got these various things at the top of the page here. We've got, like, where did they come from? We've got the banker's box. We've got something that was in a binder. We've got obviously the laptop here signifying things on Orion. We've got things being printed, and we've got magic. Because really, I mean, that's as good an explanation as anything else. And here's Kathy Shank going, oh, where did I find those? Any thoughts, guys? Like, this is insane, isn't it? Like, yeah, honestly, like, I work in a clinic that is a pretty small clinic in comparison, obviously, to a police department. But, like, we don't have papers floating around like this. This is 2017. It's not 1977. What on earth are they doing printing things out and shoving them in all different random places? Yeah, anyway, I don't understand this. Okay, so let's keep going. So Jerry here as well. Now, Cryptex, I'm going to credit you for this because you were the one that explained this on your video, but I've subsequently also heard other people talking about this too. I initially was like, how could it be received by Jerry Holman earlier than it was created? And I think you rightly said that perhaps Jerry Holman saw it first and then this was created. And then I've subsequently seen a few people talk about that. Peggy was one of them, and I believe maybe Classic Overthinker, I think maybe someone had posted Rick's interview with police where he says he spoke to a man that came out and gave the details. And yeah, so it seems like maybe good old Jerry here was the one who took the information first on the 16th of February. And that makes sense. That time, 4:30 p.m., kind of aligns with Rick's story, doesn't it? Because he said he went into the police station with Kathy. And so, yeah, I wouldn't have thought they went in at 8:45. 4:30 sounds pretty reasonable. So we've got them going in. He's spoken to a man, which is probably not Alexis Lucas. I mean, I don't know. Alexis could be a man, but I mean, it sounds to me like it's possibly a female. And so they've gone and spoken to Jerry, and he's taken the details, and then Alexis Lucas has put it into this system. So interesting now, isn't it, that the lead investigator, or at least one of the lead investigators, forgot all about the man that said he was on the trails that day at the most significant time window that day. How do we explain that, Jerry? Because now we've got multiple people with amnesia, don't we? We've got so many people. I've raised this before. We had 5 people on those Orion sheets. 5 people. And not one of them thought, well, there was a man on the trails that day and he saw 3 girls. Maybe he's our guy. So I've already kind of referenced this. We've got Doolan's notes. So again, where are they? Because he did definitely testify that he wrote on the other side of this. So why have we not been shown the other side of this? Right? I'm just going to have a quick look at the chat because I can see some amazing comments coming through. USA Libertarian, you said, which is why they had to fabricate the narrative that it was a misplaced scrap of paper. Exactly. This is just a ridiculous story. I literally do think that my son could make up a better story than this, and he's still in primary school. So anyway, he's a good story writer. So I'm not underestimating my son at all, but I'm just saying ridiculous. This story is absurd. Let's go back actually for 1 minute. And I know these are not the best printouts either. Like, I can't actually read them on my screen, but you guys all have copies of the exhibits. Go to All Eyes website if you want to get any of these in their full form. I've just put them here as sort of markers for me to remember what I'm talking about, because as you can see, I go off on lots of tangents, particularly when I'm all fired up. But I guess if we look at them in more detail, and like I said, we can't sort of zone in on them here right now, and I don't have them handy to pull up just right now. But if you look at the Orion entries, it doesn't look like they've obviously been doctored. So I kind of feel like the narrative that's in there is consistent with what Dan Doolan had in his Word file. And I do think that the timing that Rick gave on that day is in those notes. Now, I know this is an unpopular opinion, as is my timeline. I'm literally one of the only people in the Free Rick Allen space who believes that he was there later, that his 12 to 1:30 or whatever it was that he says in the interview is not accurate, not because he's lying, but because of a known memory effect called the telescoping effect. If anyone's interested in the psychology research and the memory research, by all means, check out my presentation. That one's not popular, guys. Come on. This is my area of expertise, research and psychology. But anyway, the telescoping effect. So I may be one of the only people who absolutely believes Rick's innocent that sticks to that later timeline. But I think there's good reason to. We've got 2 entries on Orion that don't seem to have been doctored. I think I know at least one of them says like last access the 16th of the 2nd, 2017. So I do believe that is the time he told, and that matches some of the other information that I've spoken about before. It matches a timeline that allows him to have seen the 2 cars parked at the Mears. It matches the sightings potentially of a car parked at the CPS that matches his car. That is not the dodgy old car that seems to only be seen between about 1 and 2 and is actually exculpatory then. I've talked about this before on Reddit. I haven't done a presentation on this yet. So, yeah. Again, I do feel like he was on the trails between 1 and 2, and I do believe he left, obviously, before the crime occurred. So, yeah, just wanted to point that out. I don't think that Doolan could have changed the timing in Orion because it does say last access. And if they're that technical that they can change the last access date, then they probably could have been technical enough to switch the print date of Kathy Shank's magic discovery 2 years prior to the discovery. It's ridiculous, right? Okay, guys, I'm laughing to myself here. It's been a day. So here's where I'm going to go into more conspiratorial territory. I wonder if there was an intentional burying of Rick. Now, I know some people have suggested this before around, were they keeping him as a patsy, a possible patsy? Here's the scapegoat file. Maybe that was the binder that it was in, the scapegoat binder. But so that's one possibility. But another possibility is if my timeline is correct, maybe he was actually too close. He's sitting on that bench when Bridge Guy walks behind him. He's parking potentially at the CPS or in the vicinity when the old car is parked just up there. People saw 2 cars at the CPS area that day, guys. We see the narrative of the old car, which is clearly dodgy. Clearly, to this day, they've never found that car. We all know that's dodgy. But they do talk about a small black car. Is that Rick? Maybe. It doesn't mean he's guilty, guys. I think everybody knows by now I do not think Rick Allen is guilty. And yes, when I first came into this space, I wasn't sure. But I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have done the hours of YouTube content and posting and subjected myself to some pretty awful hate online that has not been good for my nervous system, and now created a website if I didn't believe he was innocent. But maybe Rick potentially could have seen more. And I'm not suggesting that Rick saw more and he's now not telling us the truth. I'm suggesting that maybe he said more in that first interview that they didn't want to hear, so they didn't put it in the notes. Maybe he didn't, but maybe they were worried he would. Remember, we've lost lots of interviews from 2017, guys. There were people that were not interviewed. There were people that were interviewed and recorded over. There were people who had to beg to have their voices heard. There are people that were interviewed for 10 minutes in a car. So clearly there was not a whole heap of interest in the witness narratives. And my question here is that because they didn't want to know what the witnesses saw? Because they already knew who was responsible. And when I say they, I don't know who they are. There are some pretty obvious candidates for that category. I don't need to mention their names. You guys already know. This is all alleged. I do not have any proof of anything I'm saying right now, just a brain that likes to pick things apart and look at logic. But my concern here is they did not want to hear from Richard Allen because they did not need to have his full recollection just in case he did happen to remember things that they didn't want him to remember. I mean, what if, even the 2 car sightings, what if it isn't Kelsey German's sedan that he saw when he saw the 2 cars? Because that is a very tight time frame. Maybe it's not that. Maybe he got up a few minutes later and somebody else's sedan was parked at that Mears lot while Betsy Blair was wandering around on the trails. maybe this was the second person that was dropped off to help with the abduction, because the younger witnesses, the way they described Bridge Guy, appears quite different to what Bridge Guy looks like. So was there the younger guy dressed in all black with the poofy hair? And was there an older guy with the Bridge Guy appearance? Was he dropped off at the Mears? I mean, who knows? Do you know what I mean? Like, we don't know any of this stuff. And I wonder, given now some of our suspicions around who potentially took that lead information originally, is it possible that someone purposely put the wrong name there? Because I don't think that Rick would have called himself Rick Allen Whiteman. I mean, that's not sensible, is it, really? I mean, he's given a picture of himself. He's given his driver's license, right? I'm pretty sure. He's given his phone number. He's taken his wife into the police station. Like, come on, guys. If he's trying to be dodgy, is the only dodgy thing he's going to do call himself Whiteman? Come on. Honestly, it doesn't add up. Did somebody write his name as Richard Allen Whiteman so he wouldn't easily be followed up? Who knows? Hey, Teresa, thank you for joining. Lovely to see you again. So, yeah, is it possible that he was too close to the key time window? Were they worried about what he would remember and therefore didn't want to speak to him again? I mean, remember Cheyenne Mill, guys? She had to force herself on them to get heard, and they didn't follow her up again. They didn't really follow up anyone again, really, did they? Except for Bree Wilbur and Betsy Blair. But that's also because we can't see the 2017 interviews because they were probably some of the ones that were recorded over. And I'm pretty sure I remember hearing something about Brad Heath having to go back multiple times to talk about that old car. They clearly did not want to follow up on things. I mean, the 25th of the 2nd, wasn't that around the day that they executed the search warrant for Kegan Kline? And then they didn't follow up on him because, goodness, we don't really want to catch a child predator for another few years. Let's just let him continue to stalk and harass young women in our area. What? My goodness, honestly, guys, this is just it's just beyond anything that I've ever understood. Okay. The rest of this presentation, I'm not going to go through, guys, because this is the stuff we've talked about previously, and I do really not want to keep going over the same thing. That's not the purpose of this channel. If you want to hear all about the debunking and miraculous 2022 discovery story, the print date being 2019, it's correct in this slide, you guys can go to the website. If you want to read it, you can go to the numerous other videos I've done over the last week about this. And you can also look at other videos like Cryptex and Peggy. A few of us have been talking about this week. So you guys probably have all caught up with that. I'm just going to have a quick look at the chat as well. I can see USA Libertarian is being an amazing contributor to the chat. So let me just scroll up a little bit. So we're saying a possible suspect and definitely a key witness. It being followed up on is just ridiculous. Not being followed up on, I meant to say whether intentionally or due to incompetence, both ridiculous. Exactly, USA Libertarian. It doesn't make sense regardless, does it? Regardless of whether it's an accident or on purpose. But it's starting to be really hard to see this. Well, not starting. It was always really hard to see this as an accident because, first of all, this is a double homicide investigation of 2 young girls. But secondly, remember, we've now got these 4 sheets floating around plus 2 entries in Orion. We've got 5 separate individuals looking at this or entering parts of this or hearing about this tip. We have 2 different types of handwriting written here. And the more I think about it, the more I wonder if whether in 2017 or 2019, somebody decided, hey, let's look in this binder of all of the people who were witnesses on the trails that day and let's copy their lead sheets and make sure we go back and get their narrative summaries. So whether it's this one here or this one here, 2017, 2019, sorry, wrong date here, guys. And let's do this note, this annotation on it here, which I'll go back up to this one actually because we can actually read it on this one. Nothing new, phone info provided to ISP. This nothing new, it sounds like a follow-up, doesn't it? It does. It's not Doolan that wrote that there. Doolan had the other sheet that didn't have the writing on it. So somebody at some point has photocopied that sheet, which is Exhibit 229, has been photocopied into 228, and they have written nothing new, phone info provided to ISP. The phone info is on this one, guys. It's on this one that was printed on the 25th of the 2nd the first time, and again on the 29th of the 10th. Sorry, guys, I do the dates in Australian format. So we put the day and then the month and then the year. But so just hope that doesn't confuse anyone. So I guess what I'm saying here is that at some point this tip narrative was printed off to provide the phone info to whoever in ISP was doing the checks of the phones. Because otherwise, again, when this says phone info provided to ISP, how did they provide it? How did they provide the phone info? The phone info is the Mead hex number, as well as, of course, the phone number. But the Mead or Mead hex number or IMEI on other people's, not on this one, would always be on the narrative summary. Now, this was printed out on the 25th of the 2nd, 2017. And again, it was printed off on the 29th of October 2019. So either on one or both of those days, there was a reason that they printed that. They checked that phone information, guys. I am so certain of it. If that is not the case, goodness, I would be so surprised, because the phone info is on this narrative summary and somebody has provided that phone info, right? Now, if we have this being printed again on the 25th of the 2nd, the 25th of February, that means that's a week after Dan Doolan met Rick. They were still looking into him and his information, either as a witness or a person of interest. Okay? And then they were looking into him again, definitely in 2019, again, either as a witness or a person of interest. My feeling is they were always looking at him as a person, not person of interest, sorry, as a witness. I don't think they ever thought he was a person of interest, because he isn't, and he wasn't, and they knew it. It's devastating, really. It's just awful. I'm not going to go through all the geofencing stuff. We talked about that before. If you guys are interested, absolutely go back and have a look at some of the previous videos where I've gone through this. This is just me collating everything into one document. So I'm going to upload this one to the website so that you've got all of the information in one place, because I've done multiple presentations on this. Just going back to the chat for a minute, USA Libertarian, thank you for being so active. At this point, the best benefit of doubt seems to, all right, I'll pop you on the screen, seems to be they didn't actually look at the evidence and hoped the unpaid volunteer would do everything for them. Yeah, maybe. I mean, goodness, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I feel like we're all unpaid volunteers here doing all of the information for them. I wish they'd given it to us all those years back. Okay. So I'm just going to skip through a little bit more. I had a thought and I've just lost it, but I think it will come up. So like I said, you guys can look at all of this stuff. I'm not going to go through it all in detail because I've done it to death, I think. I've gone through quite a lot of this, and I know Prof reviewed this on his channel the other day as well. So I don't want to go over things over and over again, but let's just go to this. Questions. And you guys can keep adding to these questions, but these would have been the sorts of questions I would love to ask if I were able to take depositions, go to trial, and do all that stuff that I'm not able to do. Maybe some of these questions wouldn't legally be possible, but who knows? So here are my questions. Where were all these copies stored, and where exactly were they found? There are 4 separate sheets of paper there. Where were they stored? Because I'm going to guess that Dan Doolan didn't store the paper on his at his place, but I mean, he says he provided it back to the ISP. And Kathy Shank didn't find all of these in one box. Did Kathy Shank, it's going to come up, but did Kathy Shank actually make the miscellaneous box too? And she wasn't printing things and putting them into the box. She was supposed to be taking these out of the box, and she was trying to file them and then consolidate the database by scanning them in. So yeah, Anyway, my next question is it usual process to print both lead sheet and narrative summary for every witness? I mean, maybe it is. Maybe that's how they have all of the information there for all the detectives to talk through. I don't know. I'm just imagining things here, guys, because I've never been inside a police investigation. But you know what you see in the shows where they have like this big room and they're all got like, you know, pieces of paper up on the wall and they're all talking and doing like a little daily meeting. I watch a lot of British crime shows, so that's what they seem to do in the English police stations. I assume they do the same thing in the American ones, but that's kind of what I imagine. Maybe that would be, you know, somebody would be holding on to these sheets and saying, oh, I interviewed this one guy that was on the trial. I don't know. I would assume they would do that. Would make sense, right? Just actually on that note, sorry, I am skipping around a lot, guys. I hope you're keeping up. I am talking very quickly too. I hope you guys are following. But I was just thinking, so if my very hypothetical speculation is correct, that there was a desire to ensure that Rick Allen wasn't giving any information that could catch the real offender, then did the investigator who took this tip ensure that he picked the right person to interview Rick that would give the most ridiculous summary of information ever on the narrative summary? Because I'm sorry, but Dan Doolan, his note that he took for a murder investigation is so basic and summarized, it wouldn't even cut the mustard as a case note on a therapy file, guys. If I wrote that short a therapy narrative on an initial interview with a client, I'd probably get in trouble, right? Like anyone auditing my file would be like, did you even interview this person? Okay. Now, okay, a psychology interview was longer perhaps than the police interviews in the Delphi case. It shouldn't be, should it, really, guys? Shouldn't they have spent longer with each person? But anyway, my sense here is that I was feeling a bit sorry for Doolan that he got thrown under the bus the other day. But I think that, again, I'm alleging maybe there was a choice of who interviewed Rick Allen because he could be told what not to include in his narrative. I don't know, maybe. I don't want to ever suggest anyone's doing anything naughty, but maybe they are, right? I'm allowed to have theories. So where would they usually keep paperwork? Again, I don't know anyone here or anyone watching the replay. If you've ever been in a police investigation, please let me know. I know there have been some people I've heard at some point on people's channels who are law enforcement. So if you are law enforcement, married to law enforcement, friends with law enforcement, let me know. What are their processes around this stuff? I don't need to know inside investigative processes, but, you know, where do they keep the paperwork? What do? Do they keep paper copies of this stuff, or is it all just sort of on Orion? Things like that. So was any of this scanned into Orion, and when? I mean, Kathy apparently was scanning this stuff, but was the rest of it scanned? Why is there a cross through it? Is that usual process? So I mentioned before, is the cross through it a usual process, or is it to do with it being cleared? Who are each of the 5 staff who accessed this tip? Did we talk to all 5 of them to understand, you know, what they were doing as they got this information and whether they remembered it, and also to look at their handwriting? Have they compared the handwriting to staff members involved? As I think a few people have said, it's pretty distinctive handwriting, guys. I think that not the cleared so much, but the kind of nice D's and things that we see in the writing. I think that's pretty distinctive handwriting. Why would it have been reprinted in 2019? Good question. I don't know. Did the defense not see that? Did they not see the print date? I don't know. Maybe they were just distracted by so much of the other red herring intensity, twists and turns of this investigation. Sorry, my dog is trying to jump up beside me. If you guys hear it jangling and scratching, he's suddenly decided he can't jump anymore onto the couch. He's sort of middle-aged, so I don't know if it's his joints, but sometimes he can, sometimes he can't. Anyway, you're up. Oh dear. And then the cat just hissed at him. If you can hear that in the background, guys, there is some serious action going on here. Okay, it's all good. They've settled. Okay, so where are Dan Doolan's handwritten notes? We've talked about that already. Who was provided with the phone info? Because it said the phone info was provided to ISP. Who? How? Was it provided as part as the narrative summary? Was that given to someone? This really contradicts the narrative again, though, doesn't it? Then, because who then handled that separately to the cleared sheet? Um, why is Kathy Shank listed as Invest, which I'm assuming is short for investigator in Orion in 2019 as she's searching and printing this thread? Is that common practice? Like, she's not an investigator, she's a volunteer. Is it usual process for a non-law enforcement volunteer to have access to homicide investigation documents? How do we explain Holman and Doolan's episodes of amnesia? Read the tip. We've now got two people on the stage at the press conference. They're just a couple of days later appealing for Bridge Guy, who looks presumably like a middle-aged man. And yet neither of them thought about Rick Allen because his name was Rick Allen Whiteman. Ridiculous. Why were witnesses interviewed at varying intervals? Some only interviewed once, some multiple times, some never. We've talked about this before. I mean, we know that there is such a variability in how they interviewed people and got information. And who created the miscellaneous box? And who else's info was in there? I'd love to see the Orion sheets for the other witnesses. Show us Betsy Blair's one. I just want to see what the others' documents look like. But of course, they won't share that because that'd be privacy and things like that. And they wouldn't be able to black out the private information just to show us that other documents were handled the same way. No, they wouldn't be able to do that because they would need to redact everything because that's just part of the process, isn't it? In Delphi. Okay, guys. So I got through a lot of stuff there and I hope it made sense. I hope you followed. It really is confusing because there is so much paperwork flying around here. And if we get back now to our lovely article here, which I hope will be corrected at some point. Just reading the chat, you guys are all quiet all of a sudden. Have I put everybody to sleep? Just go back up and read the last few points. You guys are quiet. Is everybody awake? Hello? Diana, you're still awake. I should have known you're awake. You were always awake. I don't know how you do it. My goodness. Okay, so let's go to this article and read about our friends over here in the police department and the prosecutor. I use the term friends lightly, guys. Okay, cleared. Right, 7 letters delayed Alan's conviction by 5 years. So here we've got Nicholas McClelland speaking to the Carroll County Comet, his first interview since the gag order was lifted. It's part of a continued series. Okay, so this is journalist Amy Graham McCarthy, and I hope she will actually come back and, respond to my email that I sent her the other day to just politely kind of help her to see. I mean, it's not her fault because when she wrote this article, she wouldn't have had these random pieces of paper that we've all now seen and been completely floored by. But let's just go down. So written in red on a tip sheet with information on tip 74 was the word cleared. That one word allowed Richard Allen's self-reported tip to be filed away until 2022. No, it didn't. It didn't because it wasn't one word on one sheet that was filed away. There were 4 sheets. One of the sheets had cleared, the others didn't. One of the sheets was printed in 2019. Am I the only one that sees that whole part there as wholly inaccurate? Hey, Nicole, glad you're still awake. And Diana, dumbfounded, yeah, right? Like, what? Like, honestly, if you were watching this as a movie, you wouldn't even be able to keep up. You'd be like, what are they doing? Right. A year earlier in 2021, Carroll County prosecutor Nicholas McClelland says investigators circled back to review the nearly 20,000 tips received in the case. And they love to go on about this, don't they? The 20,000 tips. Yeah, but how many tips did you have of people who were actually on the trails that day? Because I've pretty much counted aloud sometimes, and it's about 20, isn't it, in that time frame? Oh, everyone talking about the dogs. Yes, the dogs are definitely obstacles, aren't they? Mine's actually not too bad. It's the cats usually. I usually get a big flick of a big fluffy tail. I've got a cat that's I believe part Maine Coon. And if anyone knows what a Maine Coon cat is, they have big fluffy tails. They're big fluff, kind of like lionish kind of cats. Mine's not massive, but he's fluffy, and he loves to have a little swat of his tail on the screen as I'm doing telehealth usually. But the dog's actually fine at the moment. Sometimes I get the odd lick. Anyway, back on topic, guys. I could talk about dogs and cats forever too. I have a few special interests that I hyper focus on. Okay. So yeah, they go on about the 20,000 tips. Let's actually count it out again, guys, and do the tally with me. I might miss someone, but let's see. We got the 4 girls. We've got Betsy Blair, that's 5. We've got Rick Allen, that's 6. We've got Abby and Libby. Obviously, they're not witnesses to this, unfortunately. We've got who else have we got in that time frame? We've got McCain, Riley, Cheyenne Mills, Shelby Duncan, Shelby Hicks, Daniel Pearson. I feel like that's all the people, all the known witnesses in that sort of significant time frame, right? So that's 17 I counted. And then we've got like obviously Derek Sherman and then the people that come out searching. And obviously there are people before that too, but we're talking here now about anyone who was on the trails between 1 and 3 that day. And it's literally 17 at most. So 20,000 tips. He's got to go through 20,000 tips. No. Just go through the 17 people that were actually on the trail in that time frame, because you'll probably find that could be really useful information if you hadn't recorded over their interviews, not interviewed people, interviewed people for 10 minutes in a car, misfiled 4 different random sheets of paper and ignored what was on Orion database. And yeah, happy to come help you guys in your department in future. Sure, you'd love my help, right? Even with ADHD, I'm better organized than this gang. Okay. Alan of Delphi was convicted and sentenced for the murders of Abby and Libby. He confessed more than 60 times to killing the girls. Again, guys, anyone who confesses more than 60 times, all that tells you is that they are unwell. It doesn't tell you they're guilty, guys. There is no correlation between the number of confessions and guilt. I do not understand why people love to say he confessed more than 60 times as though that's an indication of guilt. Oh, sorry, guys. This is just beyond me today. For 2 years, McClelland and later his team of deputy prosecutors remained tight-lipped about the case. Yeah, I'll skip that. That's boring. I want to get to his actual quote, but after nearly a year of reviewing tips, Kathy Shank, a retired Division of Family and Children worker and investigative team volunteer, revisited tip 74. So, we got the 20,000 tips, but this was tip 74, guys. And they still didn't give it a good go. They waited till they had 20,000 tips to go back. Alan's self-reported tip placed him on the Monon High Bridge on February the 13th, 2017, the day the girls went missing. This tip had information from Alan that he saw 3 girls on the trails between 1:30 and 3:30 p.m. Alan told Indiana Conservation Officer Dan Doolan he was wearing clothing similar to a man recorded by Libby following the girls across the bridge and instructed him to go down the hill. No, he did it, guys. We've read Dan Doolan's tiny little summary, and there is no mention of what he was wearing. Yeah, another gotcha moment, guys. How about we actually tell the truth? Gosh. Here's our quote, guys. It wasn't misfiled. It wasn't lost because Alan's name was entered as Richard Allen Whiteman in the tip database. The reason we didn't find it was because on the tip, someone wrote cleared. They wrote that on a piece of paper, on one piece of paper. They didn't actually write that on Orion, because I'm pretty sure you can't just get a pen and write on a database. I mean, maybe you can on the touch screen, but I didn't see that on the Orion printout, guys. I mean, did they have some magnificent technology over there in the ISP back in 2017 where they were able to write cleared onto a computer screen? So we put it in the file that was clear. What file that was clear? The banker's boxes? I mean, Oh my gosh, what do they do? Do they put the computers with the cleared file in a cleared room? Guys, I'm overtired. Having sick kids has made me go nuts. It's just stupid. Like, I'm not saying he's stupid because I don't like to say mean things, but this is a stupid story. It doesn't make any sense, guys. The file was marked accordingly. No, but there was no file because Kathy Shank was doing those files, wasn't she? Later on, she was the one that was putting them in the manila folders and marking it green cleared. So that was way later. Except, no, remember, she filed a 2019 printout in 2017. She went to the future. See, Shibby always says I'm in the future, and I am. I'm 14 hours in the future from most of you guys. But I'm only 14 hours in the future, not 2 years in the future. Guys, sorry. I'm really losing it today. Oh my goodness. This is just a joke, guys. This is a joke, right? This whole article here, I don't blame the author of the article. She's only working with what she was told. But this quote here from McClelland, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And this is the sort of stuff that convicted a man with no criminal history. This is the sort of stuff that condemned that man to torturous conditions in jail, to 130 years, living out the rest of his life in jail. This is the stuff that has left 2 young girls' deaths unsolved. It's left the murderers of those 2 young girls walking the streets. And it has condemned an innocent man who spent his whole life worrying about doing the right thing. It's just yuck. It's just abhorrent, guys. So, I mean, I don't need to read through all the rest of this. It's kind of self-explanatory. I think anyone watching this knows what my thoughts are, and I think most of you share my thoughts as well. I don't think that there's many people, particularly at this time slot of watching my lives, that believes that Rick Allen is 100% guilty, at least. I don't think so, because I haven't actually noticed anyone come in and tell me that. I'm sure there will be people who watch on the replay, but yeah, just going back as well. Just wanted to go back to her quote, Kathy Shank's quote, and she says here that she had filed the lead in the narrative at some point way back in 2017. That is a direct quote. So if we take Kathy Shank's quote here and Nick McClelland's quote in that Carroll County Comet article, and we can't even say Kathy Shank, maybe she misspoke. She's an older lady. I'm not trying to say older people, are not accurate, but she's a volunteer. We're not gonna say we have to hold her to the same standard as Nick McClelland. You were the prosecutor. You prosecuted Rick Allen. You should know that case inside out. I'm pretty sure Georgia Kappelman wouldn't make a mistake like this with the Adelsons. Big comparison there. I'm pretty sure that they don't like me very much. I wonder if they even know. I'm only a small creator, but I don't think they like me very much. Kind of glad I'm living on the other side of the world. Yeah, interesting, right, guys? Lots of snark from me today. I hope this has been helpful for you guys. You guys are all super quiet. You're just listening to me rant like I did with Diana earlier. Sorry, guys. I got a big voice today. But I think that I hope now that we've pointed out all of the major inconsistencies. I know other people have also isolated some other details in these 2 pages that have been created into 4 pages and into the Orion database and all of that. Other people have commented on them. There's lots of info coming out. It's a great team effort. And I really appreciate the people who want to be team players on this case. I am certainly one of those people, as I think most of you know. Unfortunately, yes, there are people who try to discredit me. And I wonder now what their motivations are. Because I think anybody who watches my channel, anybody who reads my presentations, anybody who takes the time to get to know me can see that there is no part of me that is trying to harm the case. There is no part of me that is trying to create obstacles to justice. And the biggest part of me, I hope you all see, is my commitment, my passion, my heart. And when I think of those two girls and I think of Richard Allen, I feel sad. And I literally have shed tears for all of them. I was mentioning a song um, earlier today when I was speaking to Diana. It is a Taylor Swift song. I love Taylor Swift. And there's a song called Seven on her Folklore album, my favorite album of Taylor Swift. It's an awesome album. And the song Seven just kind of came to me randomly when I was really kind of getting into the heart of this case. And the song is about two little girls who are best friends around the age of 7, and they're playing in the trees near the creek, which was also, I guess, imagery. And they say, "Please think of me." It's very haunting. And I think one of the friends is wanting to protect the other friend because she says, "I think your house is haunted. Your dad's always mad, and that must be why." And she's trying to protect her friend. And I think that just has such a resonance for me when I think of Abby and Libby, because I've always believed that I believe it's Libby is protective of Abby, only purely because Abby looks so traumatized and stressed in that last car picture, and Libby looks really resolute and almost there's this sort of edge of like protectiveness in her. And I wonder if they knew that they were meeting someone and that person had hurt Abby, and Libby was trying to stick up for her best friend. I do believe those girls are heroes, not in the way that Nicholas McClelland has tried to suggest. Well, yes, in that way, still, I do believe that Libby was recording, and I do believe that those girls fought to do whatever they could to save each other and to protect each other, but ultimately they were vulnerable and they were led into that woods. And I believe there was more than one person, and they were trapped. And simultaneously, a third victim was sitting alone on that bench, on that 505 bench, unaware that all of his biggest fears and more would come true 5 years later. That he would not only continue to feel bad because he had his whole life, because of his low self-esteem and his anxiety, but that he would be falsely accused of one of the most horrendous crimes and tortured. There are 3 victims, and if you ever listen, there's this last 30 seconds of that track of Seven, and it's just haunting music. And every time I listen, I literally get this picture in my head. And I know the people who don't like me will say this is so silly, and I don't care, because I don't care about being sensitive, and being hyper empathic and hypersensitive is my strength. So I don't really care if you think that's stupid or weird. But I hear that last 30 seconds and I imagine those girls walking off, and I'm going to cry to their death, to a death that they didn't deserve, that nobody deserves. And those 2 young girls did not deserve that horror. And simultaneously, there is a man just minutes earlier who is in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he walks the other way, blissfully unaware of what will befall him in the future. It's incredibly sad, and it's gloomy, and it's haunting. And we can't save Abby and Libby. I wish we could, but we can still save Rick Allen. And that is my purpose here, guys. And I think anyone who spends more than a few minutes talking to me or engaging with me can tell that that is my purpose here. It's been a hard day, guys. Please don't believe the smear campaigns that you hear about me. I know I probably don't need to tell the people who are already in here not to believe it. But I have a good heart and I am a team player. And when I first entered this, I just wanted to say this actually as well, because it was something I was reflecting today, thinking about some of my initial posts months ago. When I first entered this space, and I've always said this, I came in like this puppy with bones, been like, oh my gosh, I got bones, guys. Who wants to share some bones? And they literally, a few people said to me really early on, your bones are shit. We don't want your bones. Like that was kind of the attitude towards me. And so I didn't want to give up and I turned to my buddy ChatGPT and I didn't trust my own judgment. And I had ChatGPT help me to compose assertive responses and repeat my points in more articulate ways. And eventually, now, this is my voice wholeheartedly. I still obviously consult ChatGPT for facts on tool mark analysis and things like that, and to write and organize my thoughts. But back then, I was so scared of getting things wrong, and I was so scared that my voice wasn't enough. And I lent on ChatGPT. And when I read back over some of my old posts, I'm not ashamed of them, but I feel like the tone in them that maybe could be misunderstood as overconfidence was because I let ChatGPT take the reins for me because I've lived my whole life feeling like an imposter. I've lived my whole life thinking that people won't believe me. And well, actually, not people, because my clients do. My clients believe me. And if I'm sure some of my clients have found me on here. So if you're listening, shout out to you guys. I love you. But I'm not advertising this to my clients. That's not my purpose. But if all my clients watch this, they would all tell you that I'm in this for the right reasons, guys. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say. If you guys have any thoughts, comments, questions, clarifications, anyone in law enforcement want to tell me more about Orion and how it works, by all means, please do. Please keep kind of giving me more info. Contrary again to what some people say, I am always open to shifts and changes. I stick with things when I believe that I'm not being heard and I believe there's logic to them, but I'm always open to evolution of my opinions. So absolutely let me know. Let's keep working on this case together. I won't be on X for a little bit, just going to take a little bit of a step back because I don't like waking up in the morning feeling my nervous system has had acid poured on it because there are people calling me names when all I'm trying to do was help an innocent man. So I won't be on X for a little while. I'll come back. Don't worry. It's not gone forever. But I will be in my YouTube community and I will continue to be doing lives because I love doing these lives with you guys. And it's really been so encouraging to see so many people who have supported me. I'm floored. I can't even believe this many people want to listen to me talk for, hours on end because I think I'm pretty annoying. But I'm really glad you guys don't think that. If anyone ever wants to come and chat with me, if anyone ever wants to do a joint live with me, please do. Diana's already roped in. She can't get away from me now. She's glued to me. But if anybody else is interested, I'm so happy to have you on my channel. The only prerequisite for being on my channel is be kind. Be kind, be nice, don't smear other people. You're allowed to be snarky. You're allowed to point out facts and inconsistencies, as I have done, but don't be the reason that somebody who's done nothing wrong has a bad day. That's all. Love and light, everybody. Have a great night. We'll have part 2 of the psych stuff coming up. I'm going to try and edit it this week. Kids are on school holidays, so that could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. We'll see. But we'll do part 2. We haven't recorded part 3 yet, so I will record that with the ladies in that we were meant to do it this week, but maybe the week after. Diana, I'll have to rope you in for the next live chat about the psych stuff. I'm also going to repost the psych part one as a video without Diana and I's commentary, not because our commentary isn't wonderful and magnificent, but because it became incredibly lengthy. And it was actually Ash who was watching it, Diana, and she was like, my gosh, guys, you made that into like nearly 4 hours. I was like, yeah, that's a lot. But our people on our channels do like to listen and to chat. I know I like to listen to 4 hour long lives while I'm gardening. So I know a lot of you guys are happy to sit here for hours with us. But for the people who don't have that time or maybe don't want to hear all of the rabbit holes we go down, I will post things that are shorter or more condensed as videos, not as live. So, guys, so if you do want those shorter ones, go to the video section. I haven't actually ended up putting any videos on the Richard Allen Project, Justice Project YouTube yet because I'm literally juggling too many things now, and I'm not the most organized person, guys. So just stick with Daisy Asks for the moment. Daisy looks over that. Yes, Diana, I am a member of a cult called the #Compassion Cult. It is basically a movement where we treat other people with kindness and fairness. You don't need to earn kindness in this world. You don't need to earn fairness. There is no reason that we can't be kind and offer love and light. And yeah, okay. Well, if you want to join the compassion cult, guys, you must wear pink. You must listen to Taylor Swift's song 7, and you must get a cat. No, only joking. Totally joking there. Love you all, guys. It is now 11:15, and I need to go to sleep. But I will see you soon. Bye.